I want you to picture just a simple glass of milk sitting on your kitchen counter. It's, something so incredibly mundane.
Right, something you just splash in your coffee without really thinking about it.
Exactly. It's
Mhm.
a cornerstone of our diets, packed with proteins, fats, vitamins. But I want you to picture the animal that actually produced it. And don't picture some gentle green pasture.
No, definitely not.
Picture a high-yield dairy cow standing in a frozen, basically oxygen-deprived desert at like 11,000 feet, just battling hurricane-force winds.
It's a completely jarring image, but it's actually the reality for agricultural systems in some of the most unforgiving regions on the planet.
Yeah, which brings us to our mission today for this deep dive.
Yeah.
We're looking at what happens to the health and productivity of these animals when we push them to the absolute extreme.
Because maintaining their health isn't just about the animal, right? It's fundamental to global food security and the livelihoods of these rural farmers.
Right. And our source today is a fascinating research article. It's titled Evaluation of Antioxidant Status in Serum and Milk of Jersey Crossbred Cows in Different Seasons, Reared Under High Altitude Stress Condition.
Okay, let's unpack this. We need to start with the environment itself.
Yeah, we really do. Because this isn't just a tough winter. The researchers conducted this study in Livestock. That's a cold, arid desert in the Trans-Himalayan region of India.
And the geography alone is just hostile to most life. I mean, these villages sit at elevations above 3,300 meters,
Yeah, up to 3,600 meters. And when you get that high up, you are immediately dealing with hypobaric hypoxia.
which basically means the air pressure is so low that there's just less oxygen, right?
Exactly. Every single breath delivers less fuel to the bloodstream. And that's before you even factor in the weather.
Oh man, the weather data they recorded is staggering. In the winter, temperatures plummet to minus 35 degrees Celsius.
And then they swing all the way up to plus 35 degrees in the summer. It's a massive fluctuation. And because the atmosphere is so thin at that altitude, you've got punishing ultraviolet radiation. Plus, the humidity is like a bone-dry 25 to 39%.
Right, very little precipitation, mostly just snow. And the winds are relentless.
So the environment is basically constantly trying to strip moisture and heat away from the body. Which brings us to the subjects of the research.
Yes, the cows.
Right, but they aren't studying native yaks, are they?
No, they aren't. They aren't looking at local indigenous breeds that have, evolved over thousands of years to handle that exact altitude and cold. They're looking at Jersey crossbred cattle.
Which are brought in specifically because they produce a lot of milk, right?
Exactly. They're integrated into the region to support the rural economy.
Okay, but wait. It sounds like we're asking an elite marathon runner to compete at the peak of Mount Everest while breathing through a straw and wearing a t-shirt? But isn't crossbreeding supposed to make these cows tougher?
What's fascinating here is that while you can crossbreed an animal to improve milk yield or disease resistance in a few generations, you can't instantly breed in evolutionary adaptations.
Like the adaptations a yak has.
Right. A native yak has physiological adjustments, different lung capacity, red blood cell density that developed over millennia.
Ah, okay.
But the Jersey crossbreed is still fundamentally programmed for moderate climates. So when you force that biological engine to run a high-yield milk system in a frozen desert, it's pushed way beyond its natural limits.
Okay, so if the external stressors, like the freezing wind and thin air, are pushing the animal that hard, how does that actually manifest inside the body?
Well, it all comes down to a microscopic battle.
Right, we hear the term oxidative stress thrown around a lot, usually on health podcasts when someone's trying to sell you a blueberry smoothie or something.
Exactly. It's become a bit of a buzzword.
But in the context of this study, it's a very specific, very dangerous biological mechanism, isn't it?
It is. To understand the threat, we have to look at cellular metabolism. Your cells use oxygen to create energy.
Standard biology.
Right. But a natural byproduct of that process is the creation of reactive oxygen species, or ROS. Most people just call them free radicals.
And under normal conditions, those are fine, right? Just background noise.
Exactly. But hypobaric hypoxia and severe cold change the equation entirely. When the cow is freezing and struggling for oxygen, the production of these free radicals just skyrockets.
And a free radical is basically an unstable molecule missing an electron.
Yes. And because it's unstable, it's desperate. It will violently rip an electron out of the nearest stable structure it can find.
Just to balance itself out,
Right.
which is where antioxidants come in, right? We can think of them as the body's natural defense system, like a protective shield.
That's a perfect analogy. In a healthy cow, antioxidants willingly donate their own electrons to these desperate free radicals.
Neutralizing them before they can damage anything important.
Exactly. It's a very highly managed internal economy. But the tipping point happens when the sheer volume of free radicals vastly exceeds the available antioxidant supply.
The shield shatters.
Right. That is oxidative stress. The free radicals run out of antioxidants, so they start stealing electrons from vital cellular structures. They attack proteins, mutate DNA, degrade cell membranes.
Wow. So what does this all mean for the cow on a Tuesday in the middle of winter? Does she just feel tired, or is there physical damage happening inside her cells?
Oh, there is severe physical damage happening at a cellular level.
So how do researchers actually prove that? Because setting up a lab experiment in Livestock sounds like a total logistical nightmare.
It really is.
Hmm.
But they designed a remarkably comprehensive field study. They found 140 clinically healthy lactating Jersey crossbred cows.
Spread across 7 different villages around, right?
Yes, and to get a true measure of the environmental impact, they compared 2 contrasting seasons. The summer, which is relatively moderate, and the brutal winter.
And they took both blood and milk samples. I thought that was so smart. Because testing both gives a dual window, right?
Exactly. The blood serum tells us about the cow's internal organ health. But the milk tells us about the nutritional quality of our actual food supply.
Right. Now, to measure the seasons, they used a metric called the temperature-humidity index, or THI.
Yeah, THI combines temperature and humidity into a single number to measure thermal comfort.
But wait, I thought THI was only used to measure heat stress in the summer, like on the local news when it's super humid. How does a heat index help us understand freezing Himalayan winters?
This raises an important question, actually. You're right, the dairy industry mostly uses it for heat stress because cows hate heat.
Right.
But the index fundamentally calculates how far an environment is shifted from an animal's thermoneutral zone. That's the sweet spot where they don't need extra energy to stay warm or cool.
Oh, I see.
So in the summer in Ladakh, the THI was a manageable 71.51. But in the winter, it plummeted to a brutal 46.1.
Tracking that huge drop gives them a quantifiable baseline of the environmental whiplash.
Exactly.
Okay, so we have the baseline. Now we need the chemical proof of the cellular damage. And reading the study, there is a massive alphabet soup of biomarkers here.
Yeah, the lab terminology gets pretty dense.
So let's break it down for everyone listening on their commute. Let's start with FRA, ferric-reducing antioxidant power.
FRA is great. It measures the body's overall antioxidant capacity.
Going back to our analogy, FRAP is like the total strength, the budget, the readiness of an entire military defense system. You aren't counting individual soldiers, just the total power.
Exactly. And then they use DPPH and ABTS assays. These are radical scavenging assays.
So if FRA is the size of the army, DPPH and ABTS are the frontline fighters.
Right. They measure how effectively the biological samples actually neutralize free radicals in real time. Stronger scavenging means better active protection.
Okay, and then we get to the damage report. Lipid peroxidation, which they measured using MDA, or malondialdehyde.
This is the grim part. Remember those cell membranes being attacked? They are made of lipids.
Right.
When free radicals break through, they attack those lipid walls, collapsing the cellular structure. That destruction process leaves behind a byproduct MDA.
So if FRAP is the army and DTPH are the soldiers fighting, then MDA is the casualty report of the cells that didn't make it.
That's spot on. And they also track 2 specialists. Catalase, an enzyme that frantically breaks down harmful hydrogen peroxide.
Into just water and oxygen, right?
Exactly. And uric acid, a water-soluble antioxidant in the blood.
Okay, so we've got the combatants, the scoring system, everything. What actually happened during that brutal winter?
The defenses essentially collapsed. The FRAP, that overall defense capacity, was significantly lower in both blood and milk during the winter.
Wow.
And the frontline fighters, the DPPH and ABTS scavenging activities, those were severely depressed too. The cow's protective shields were just totally depleted by the cold and low oxygen.
And because the shields failed, the damage must have spiked, right?
Wait, massively. The MDA casualty report nearly tripled in the winter.
Tripled. Wait, I have the numbers here. It jumped from roughly 13 nanomoles per milliliter in the summer to nearly 33 in the winter.
Yes. The cold stress caused widespread cellular damage. And the catalase spiked too, proving the body was desperately trying to fight off the stress, but just couldn't keep up.
Which means the cow is spending all its energy just trying to survive.
Exactly. When an animal is under that much stress, it diverts blood flow and calories away from non-essential functions to maintain core body heat.
And unfortunately for the farmer, the udder is non-essential in a survival situation.
Right. Blood flow to the udder reduced dramatically.
So milk production plummeted. It dropped from an average of 4.73 liters a day in the summer to just 3.54 liters in the winter.
It's a huge economic blow for rural livelihoods.
Yeah, it really is. But here's where it gets really interesting. If the plasma antioxidant levels in the blood are crashing, does that mean the nutritional quality of the milk we drink is also compromised?
Sadly, yes. The researchers found a direct correlation. The antioxidant levels in the milk dropped right alongside the levels in the cow's blood.
So the food supply isn't just shrinking in volume, it's actually losing its protective biological qualities too.
Exactly. Because the animal producing it is under immense oxidative stress.
So synthesizing all of this,
Okay.
why should the listener care? You know, if someone listening right now is never going to visit the Himalayas, why does this matter?
Because it's a perfect case study of how invisible environmental stress dictates our global food supply. We can't just drop high-yield animals into extreme environments without consequences.
The researchers concluded that we need microenvironment management. What does that practically look like? We aren't putting central heating in a barn at 11,000 feet, are we?
No, but it means better sheltering. Insulated floors, windbreaks to cut the chill, and crucial nutritional interventions.
Like antioxidant boosters in their feed.
Exactly. Giving them extra vitamin E, zinc, and selenium during the winter gives their bodies the raw materials to rebuild those shields. If we connect this to the bigger picture, it really shows how fragile our optimized agricultural systems are.
Yeah, which leaves you with a really provocative thought to chew on. As climate change continues to drive more extreme weather events, globally unprecedented heat waves, crazy cold snaps, the definition of an extreme environment is shifting.
It's coming to our own backyards.
Exactly. So are current agricultural practices and these highly specialized animal breeds prepared for the biological toll that's coming? Or are we going to have to fundamentally rethink how we shelter, feed, and breed our livestock before the food supply breaks? Next time you pour a glass of milk, you might look at it a whole lot differently.